Hello, my name is Steve Miller, and today's lesson is a simple step-by-step procedure how to automate using Appium and Ruby the Safari browser on iOS with the simulator. And in today's lesson, we'll use the iPhone 5S simulator using version 8.1 of the iOS, but you can pick and choose. So I'm going to start it out by actually running what the end of the project is, and then we'll go back and build it up from scratch. So I have the Appium set up here. I have iPhone S 8.1 and use mobile Safari. And I'm going to launch that. And I get the 200 is okay. And then here I have my Appium or my Ruby code. And I will just run the Ruby code. So I'm going to say Ruby simple.rb. And then you can see over here it's launching the simulator, and then it'll walk through opening up the Safari browser. Initially it defaults to Apple, and then we change it to Google. And then I'm validating these elements here, that this is here and that this is here. And then I'll go ahead and type in my search, click on the search button, and then it closes it all down. And over here, test results passed, succeeded. So at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to run the same stuff and walk through the same using Appium and Ruby. Let's discuss the tools that we're going to use today. So I'm running on a Mac, and then for Appium, I currently have Appium 1.36. For Xcode, start up Xcode here, I have version 6.3.1. Also using terminal, we'll also use TextEdit. And then I also have the Chrome browser, which I have added a user agent switcher, which enables me to say, hey, I want this to simulate an iPhone 5 or an iPhone or an iPad. If you don't have that, you can go to more tools, go to extensions, and you can say get more extensions, and you can search on user agent switcher. And here's the one that I'm using, is User Agent Switcher by esolutions.se. Close that. And so those are all the tools that we'll need to be able to run this training today. So next, what we're going to do is set up a folder structure. You can put this wherever you want. Here's just a suggestion that I have. So go ahead and open up a terminal, and then mkdir. For all of the training stuff that I have, I'll just put it in Dented Ghost. And then cd Dented Ghost. And then inside of that, we're going to make a directory called iOS Safari Simulator Simple. So mkdir iOS Safari Simulator Simple. And then we'll also go into that directory. I'll just use the tab for autocomplete and then hit enter. And if I do ls, I shouldn't see anything in there. I'm going to just type clear just to put us towards the top. Now what we need to do is set up the gem files. The gem files are the libraries that we'll be using to run our Appium. The gem file that we're focused on is the Appium lib. To get more information on that, we can go out to Ruby Gems. And we can see right now the most current version is 7.00, which is the one that we're going to use. And then what we're also using to install the gems is Bundler. And there's more information on Bundler that we can go to this page if you want additional information on Bundler. So for us, one of the first things that we need to do is we're going to still use text edit to keep it simple. But one of the things that we need to do is we need to update the preferences, or you'll get some really weird errors when it comes to using single ticks and quotes, because it uses the smart quotes. So let's go ahead and open up text edit. I say done here, and then go up to text edit, go to preferences, make sure that we have plain text here, and then make sure that anything over here, smart quotes, is all unchecked, and then go ahead and we can quit text edit. So now we have the preferences set up for text edit. Okay. Now that we have that, we can go ahead and use Bundler to install the gem files. To do that, in the directory that we'd created, again, there's nothing there. And what we'll do is we'll go bundle, init, and if we do an ls, you'll see gem file. I'll do clear, just put us to the top again. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and edit that. So we say open -a, and we'll use text edit, and then the name of the file, gem file. And this is the default gem file that it sets up, or gem configuration file, and we want to update that to include our Appium lib. So I'll go ahead and I'll just delete out this comment, and I will delete this comment out, and then type gem, single quote, and then Appium _lib, single tick quote. Oops, missing it. There we go. And then space, tilde, arrow, 7.0.0, single tick quote. And then go ahead and save it. And then go ahead and close. And you can double check your contents by just going cat gem file, and we should see that looks like what we want. Do clear again. And now what we want to do, now that we've set up the config file and told Bundler that, hey, we want you to install Appium lib 700, the nice thing is that Bundler will go out and not only install that, but it also install all the dependencies that we have associated with it. So to do that, say bundle, install, now it's going out to Ruby Gems. It's fetching not only appium.lib, but also all the dependencies that we'll need for that. And here what we can do is we can do ls now, and now we'll see that we have a gem file, but we also have a gem lock file. And if I do cat gem file lock, you'll see that this just tells us, hey, this is what we currently have in the system that was just installed. So that's all that we need to do to get the gem file set up and install the gem file and all of its dependencies. Now we're going to actually code the Ruby Appium automation. In the same directory that we have the gem file and the gem lock, we're going to go ahead and create a file, simple.rb. To do that, to create an empty one, we'll just say touch in the terminal, simple.rb, and then we'll use the text editor to edit the file. So open -a text edit simple.rb. Okay. So what we want to do at the top is we want to include what are our requirements, what are our library requirements, and the two for this to keep it as simple as possible is just Ruby gems and Appium lib. We can go ahead and we can type, or I'll type these out. Require single tick Ruby gems single tick require Appium _ lib. Next, what we want to do is we want to be able to configure or tell the Appium server, hey, these are the parameters that we want to run when we're running this program. And we do that within the desired caps or the caps area. And so key ones that we have here is the platform name. So we're saying, hey, we want to run on iOS, and we want to run on iOS version 8.1. The device that we want to use is the iPhone 5S, which it will be one of our simulators that we have. And then what we want to do is that we're saying, hey, we're actually going to utilize the Safari browser on that phone for our test, making this a mobile web automation test using the Appium driver. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy that from here, come over here and paste it, clean it up just a hair. There, we're good. Now the next one is the Appium driver. So in this one, what we're doing is we're starting up the Appium driver with these configs, and you'll see that this desired caps is dropped into here. So with these configurations, we're going to go ahead and start up an Appium driver. That'll be our next. Paste that. And to keep our code clean, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to promote the Appium method to a class instance. And there's more information here on doing that. But typically for you, this will just be a copy and paste that you'll do at the beginning of your programs. Now that we have this driver, we can access elements of that driver. And what we're going to do is we're going to say driver.get, and then we're going to pass it the URL that we want to access. And really, that's as simple as it gets. And so we'll go ahead and save this for now. And we'll come back to that in a second. The next thing that we need to do is we need to set up the iPhone 5S simulator. And to do that, there's a little bit of a trick, and I'll show you why. When you come over here and you choose a specific device, when you force a device, you'll notice that there's an iPhone 5, but there's actually multiple iPhone 5s here. And given this interface, it's really hard to determine which is the correct iPhone 5 that I should choose. And to be able to actually determine the correct one, what I do is go into Xcode, and maybe there's a better way, but this is the way that I know. Go into Xcode, go up to Window, go down to Devices, and then in Devices, you can actually see here which version is associated. So what we want is we want the iPhone 5S. Let's see, iPhone 5S, and we want version 8.1. So when I click on that, you'll see that I'll see this identifier, and just you typically only have to memorize the first couple of digits here, and then we'll look for the same thing back in the actual Appium. So now when I come back here and I'm looking at the different 5S's, I can see, oh, here's the F712, so this is the one that I want. And underneath the configurations, we'll continue with the configurations. Make sure you have mobile Safari. Another thing you can actually do is check bundle ID and type Safari here. Both will work. There's a weird bug, and I hope that they fix it going forward in the future, and that is after I choose iPhone 5S, I actually want to delete, which would be the simulator's UUID there. And to save it, make sure that you come up here and click off and come back and double check you do this, because there's times where if you click on a different one, it doesn't actually save it. So make sure that you have it saved, and then the platform version 8.1. As you go forward on this version, sometimes you notice that 8.1 is the highest here, but you can actually, if you wanted to test on 8.3, you can just type it in there. But for our test, we're going to go ahead and just have 8.1. Okay, now I have that saved. And let's go ahead and test it. And to test it, again, mobile 5, but you'd selected the proper one, 8.1, and then just go ahead and click launch. And you'll see here we get the commands that we're using the iOS, and then Safari and browser name Safari. We're also using the platform version 8.1 and iOS. And then one of the key things here is we're looking for the 200, which means that, hey, the server is good and it's working the way that we'd expect it. Let's run it. So ls, and we should see the simple Ruby. And to run it and make sure that we have the server up and running, here, you can clear it out here. So launch it, start it all up, should be good. And then just type Ruby simple.rb. And what we should see is we'll get a lot of information over here, waiting for the device to boot up. The simulator should pop up. It is iPhone 5S, iOS 8.1, and then it should open up Safari. By default, it actually opens up Apple. There's a configuration in the caps that you can change that to be a different default, just specifically for iOS. And then we changed it to Google, and our test is done. We will add additional stuff later that will actually terminate the test and close this down, but for now, go ahead, you can click on here. We can quit the iOS simulator, and we were able to successfully run it where it opened up, spawned the simulator, and then open up the browser. For the mobile web, I prefer using Chrome after switching the user agent and utilizing all the tools that Chrome already has built into it for inspecting and finding elements. So to do that, I've opened up a new window here, and I'm going to switch the user agent to iPhone, which is what we're running our simulator with, and you can see it switched into the mobile version. And now what we'll want to do is, what are we going to actually use as part of our automation? We have the search box, and then we have the search button are the two pieces that we need to identify. So I'll just keep it here, it's close. So to do that, you can right mouse click on here and then go down to inspect element. And that's going to pull this out, and it's going to show you. Sometimes it doesn't show up right away, and sometimes you have to inspect the element twice. But what we'll see here is this is that specific element. And to be able to create automation that's reliable and not fragile and won't break if development changes or rearranges the pages, and also for performance issues when the automation actually does the lookup and finds the element for performance, if at all possible, always use the ID unless there's a reason not to, if maybe the ID is dynamically generated and you can't count on it. So for us here, we have the ID as LST-IB. What you can do is you can say edit as HTML, and you can just copy that and save that. What we can do is actually we'll come over here. Let's just save it inside of our automation. So we'll go open-a text edit simple.rb. Oh, I'm going to just stop the server there. And we'll just add a comment down here. And this is the search box ID. And I will just paste that. Oops. There you go. And we'll save that for a little bit later. Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to find the element for this search button. And this one's actually kind of interesting because it drops down here to div class, but you can actually see that the button appears more than that. So we can actually use this ID up here, the TB or TSBB. And sometimes you have to try it and actually try clicking on the element to see if it works. So I'm going to copy that, come back here, and search button. Weird. There we go. So those are the two key pieces that we will need when we find the elements and that we want to interact with this page. All right. The first thing that we want to do is just add a little reliability. There's different ways, but this is just a simple way. After the browser actually opens, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for that page to actually load, and for reliability purposes, we're going to go ahead and add a sleep in here. Sleep for 5 seconds. The next thing that we're going to do is that within the Appium, what we need to do is we need to find a specific element, and after we have that element or have the handle to that element, then we can act upon it. And so what I like to do is I like to say element equals, and then we have the driver, and within driver we're going to call find element, and what we're going to do is we're going to pass ID, and that comes back to here, is that we're going to say, hey, the name that we want, or the unique identifier, is ID, and then the value associated with that, kind of like key value pairs, is ls, and then IB, and then round bracket. And you can do this too after you run it and then go back. You can change this to something that doesn't exist, and then it typically tries, and then it will fail, and then your test will fail. So it's always good to actually ensure that your tests fail to prevent false positives. So now that we have that element, what we want to do is we want to click on it. And why that's important is that when you open up a web browser, or that you open in the mobile space, and we go to Google, okay, here you can see it's preloaded, but it's not always preloaded when we're using an app, or if we're using even the mobile app. So it's good to get into the habit that you actually select the element before you work on it, because sometimes it could have pre-selected a different area. So we'll go back to here, and that's why we do the element.click. Now, after we've selected and ensured that we have the focus on that specific element, what we want to do is that we want to type or send our keys to that element. And to do that, say element.send_keys. And then I'm going to use my name, my catchy handle, Dented Ghost, and Appium to ensure that the search results pop up something similar to all of the different Appium training that I'm working on. And again, just to add a little help you see the process actually help. It's not necessary here to add a sleep, but we're going to do it to help with the demonstration. So sleep 2, and you can always try remove the sleeps and see if that works fine for you. But just to keep it easy and visual to watch it work through the automation, I'm adding another sleep here. So we'll go ahead and remove this. So we've did driver.findElement, and that we're finding the search box. We clicked on it, and then we sent the keys. So the next one that we want to do is that we actually want to click on the search button to execute the search. So we'll do the similar to what we did above. We'll say element equals at driver.find_element. And the same thing, we're using an IDs here to keep it reliable and also better performance. And on this one, all we have to do is just click on it. And again, to allow the page to load after we've clicked to see the search results, I'm going to put sleep 5 there. We'll delete that, so we've taken care of that. And now we want to clean it up a little bit. This sleep 5 here will also give us an ability just to see the search results before it closes down the simulator. And to do that, we say driver_quit. And what that will do is that will close out this driver, and it will also close out the simulator. And if we get all the way here and we haven't had any issues, we'll go ahead and return test succeeded. Exclamation, single tick. And now we'll go ahead and go File, Save. And we can go ahead and minimize that. Maybe we'll come back to that if we need. I'm going to clear this up. Okay. And I'm going to, let's just double check. So we have use mobile Safari, iPhone 5, 8.1, and I can launch that. And there we have a 200, so we're good to be able to run our test. So Ruby simple.rb, and it spawns up the simulator. We should see that pop up here in a second. There it goes. And again, so it's gonna pop it up, then it's gonna open up the Safari browser, which will default to Apple. We talked earlier, you can override that in iOS currently. But to keep things simple here, we're just gonna open up a web page after the browser has started up. And now we open up Google. We wait for the page to load for a little bit. Then we're going to execute our search. Click on the search, have the search results, allow the page to load, close it down, and test succeeded. So that is the whole from the beginning to the end. Those are the basics of how you, with Ruby and Appium together, you are able to actually automate using one of the iOS simulators, and you can change the simulators around. You're not required just to use the iPhone 5, and you can test on the different simulators. If you want, I have all of this code also available at GitHub. And so if I make any updates to the code, you'll see it here. And this is where I'm going to add additional training. So you can always come over here and you can clone. You can watch this this repository to see new changes that I have to keep updated with the different training that I have. You know, I'd love to hear your feedback on things that I can do better and what you liked. So thank you very much for your time.